Hey guys, it's Aaron, and I am here to help you understand some ways of handling more innovative or out of the box thinking when it comes to accommodations and modifications. I know you've seen the video tutorials and whatnot for using Tara system and Magic School, as well as IEP Copilot and maybe some others that you have experience with. These are pretty standard when it comes to their accommodations and modification recommendations. That's a lot of Asians. But maybe we want to take things a little bit further, or maybe we don't. We're a little bit of a non-traditional teacher and we don't have IEPs or BIP data to go off of, or 504 plans. We maybe work with student profiles, or we know students well, and we want to have something a little bit um, more targeted in terms of goal setting for those students in those scenarios. So let's go ahead and look into some ways that we can use AI to help with that. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. And you can see on the left, we have good old ChatGPT, and on the right, we have Gemini Advanced. Those are probably the two that I use most these days because they offer such a wide range of things and tools that they can do. So what you see here is a positive student profile of a student, Ethan. This is an anonymized profile. This is not a real student, but very well could be. This profile talks about who he is, strengths, weaknesses, and things like that. It also has some present levels of achievement data and such. But so middle child of 5, brother, son, friend, gamer, loves role-playing games, talented artist, sketching, digital. He struggles with emotional regulation and social interactions due to his emotional disturbance, which would be, let's say, like an anxiety disorder. Okay. He can be withdrawn, but enjoys many different things. Highly intelligent and creative. Present levels of educational performance. He reads at a 3rd grade level, struggles with comprehension and staying focused. Math performs at a 2nd grade level, has difficulty with multi-step problems and abstract concepts. Writing, simple sentences, short paragraphs, needs support. And then socio-emotional, struggles with self-regulation, impulse control, and conflict resolution. This is pretty usual for emotional disturbance or anxiety disorders. So gives you some advice for supports: a structured, predictable environment, individualized behavior plans, movement, sensory breaks. So some of these we are already seeing some some recommendations for behavioral interventions here: explicit instruction, positive reinforcement, and counseling if need be. Dreams for Ethan. This is where we get to the positivity: develop effective coping mechanisms, positive relationship building, confidence, success in academics, to express himself, and to be able to advocate for his needs. Some other helpful information. This is really the personalized part that I think is very useful for what we're going to do. Ethan's a kinesthetic learner, hands-on activities, movement. He responds well to visual learning and clear instructions. Overwhelmed, Ethan may become disruptive or withdraw. Safe space, calming activities to de-escalate, and a strong relationship, right? Things that we want for all of our students. So we're going to move that aside, and we're going to take that document, and there it is, and we're going to plug that into let's do both of them at once, right? And we'll do it again over here if I can just move that out of the way. All right, and so we have that in both. Additionally, I have a prompt here that we're going to use that I attached. So you will take on the persona of a special education needs specialist educator with many years of experience. You specialize in teaching and researching autism spectrum disorders. We can change that to anxiety disorders and emotional disturbance. No problem. The most effective, so you're an expert in these things, the most effective models of teaching and lesson intervention, best practices for these students. You're dealing with the challenging case of, in this case, it says Caleb. Again, not a real student, but we'll write Ethan. From the attached document, please create an IEP that includes present levels of performance data, student needs, impact disability. Please include SMART socio-emotional learning goals, social skill goals, and academic objective goals appropriate for, and again, we'll put Ethan in there. Additionally, please provide theoretical rationales for these goals. I think that's an important piece, especially for those of us who may not have a lot of IEPs written under our belts, to have some theory or rationale for the choices and the goals, rather than just thinking, if we step up to 80% from 70% correct in whatever comprehension, then we've really set a goal that's useful for the student. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy that, paste that, like you do, and I'm going to add it in there with the document on both. And we'll see what we get. So ChatGPT, pretty fast. Typically, I think Gemini takes a little bit longer in my experience, perhaps analyzing that document in a little bit more detail. I don't know, but let's see. So you can see on both sides, we will be looking at a pretty much typical structure of IEP. Right? And you can plug and play this with whatever your form that you guys use at your schools. So academic performance, it includes that, the plop, right? You may have heard this before. Sometimes it's present levels of academic achievement or performance, and so it's said a little differently. But we look at it includes the stuff from the profile. Students' emotional disturbance impacts his ability to engage fully in academic tasks, especially those that require state attention. His challenges with emotional regulation hinder his ability to form positive relationships. So again, echoing that document that we had before. Student needs. Ethan's emotional disturbance significantly impacts his educational performance and social interactions. His struggles with emotional regulation, impulse control, and social skills create to his learning environment. The unpredictable nature of his outbursts and withdrawal can disrupt his own learning and that of his peers. So pretty similar there. Not unexpected at all. So let's see. SMART goals for Ethan. Socio-emotional. Ethan will use self-regulation strategies to manage his emotions and disruptive behaviors, with a frequency of outbursts decreasing from 3 times a week to 1 time per week over the next 12 weeks. Will independently use 3 learned calming strategies, deep breathing and this is one reason why I often like Gemini more, but I guess we have here as well the rationale behind it, and you can see deep breathing, counting, stress ball. So I guess both performing pretty much equally here. Then they give an impulse control goal on this side, so 2 socio-emotional learning goals: decrease impulsive outbursts, yelling, throwing objects to no more than 1 per week, 4 consecutive weeks, measured by a behavior chart. So maybe a little more detail on the Gemini side. Giving that rationale, improved impulse control will help Ethan make better choices and reduce disruptive behaviors. Here, I like the structure that Gemini is giving me a little bit more, but overall, both goals seem relevant, right? So this is basically what you'll see from Magic School or IEP Copilot or Tara. And so we get to these goals. These should be based essentially on the academic information that I gave already. You can see 75% on multi-step problems through measurements, and the same here. 3 out of 4, 75% on his with visual supports. So essentially very similar, right? Now, actually here, which is nice, I got a lot more. They mentioned on Gemini's side using visual supports. So these would be the accommodations that we would be talking about. However, on ChatGPT side, they went into a specific behavioral support plan and accommodations and modifications. So let's look at accommodations and modifications over here. And we'll go ahead and get rid of Gemini for now. So A's and M's, academic supports, use visual aids, graphic organizers, and hands-on materials for reading and math activities, provide additional time for assignments and tests, socio-emotional, provide explicit instructions and coping strategies and conflict resolution during one-to-one sessions or small group SEL lessons. And then also use sensory breaks, such as stressing or brief walks. Now, most of these are feasible. You can use them on a daily basis, and you will find that they are helpful to the behaviors and to the academic support. However, let's see if we can take this a little bit farther. Right, so I'm going to add the prompt now. Okay, so this IEP looks great. However, I'd like to focus more on the accommodations and modifications used for Ethan. The current set is relevant to his needs, but let's think outside the box a bit. And try to include some quite cutting edge. Now, some of these terms you could also define. Cutting edge, think outside the box. However, these large language models are pretty good when it comes to this stuff. So I'm just giving you what I did. Cutting edge. Let's not worry about immediate implementation realities. And as this is a hypothetical, let's say hypothetical exercise at this point. Let's see what we get. So they're calling it enhanced accommodations and modifications for Ethan. If you remember in his student profile, it talked about the fact that he was very kinesthetic and that he was highly visual and creative in design, sketching, and so on. So right out of the box, it goes to something like VR, right? Using these kinesthetic abilities and also the ability for emotional regulation for the VR to shut out the outside world, immerse him in a different environment. These kind of therapeutic interventions will immediately shut out the overstimulation that he may be getting in the classroom. So this is something that if you had the opportunity for it and there's a strong rationale for why this would be helpful, and they give it to you. Virtual reality has been increasingly used in therapy for anxiety disorders, PTSD, and emotional regulation, providing an immersive and controlled space for students to practice coping skills without the immediate pressures of the world, right? So now, again, this may not be feasible in your classroom. However, if you are in a less traditional classroom or you're dealing with students that have very significant needs for these types of accommodations and modifications, you might be able to implement some of this. Wearable technology, this is what I was hoping for. I forgot to mention assistive technology in there. However, a wearable device, and they give you a specific one. Embrace smartwatch that tracks physiological indicators of stress, such as heart rate, skin conductance, body temperature. As you read in the previous article, behavioral analysts or ABAs are looking into video data, wearable devices, and technology just like this as accommodations and modifications for developing behavioral interventions in therapies and in the classroom. So this tracks, right? Now, again, it depends on feasibility, on cost, and things like this. However, this tech definitely can alert staff or Ethan himself to his needs or emotional regulation, and he can preemptively undertake some of those interventions. AI-based personal learning assistant. Not surprised at this, right? This can provide targeted targeted personal learning, supports for the things that that are challenging for him, scaffolding in differentiating his level, and then giving feedback and reinforcement to his correct or incorrect answers, which you may have seen in some of the personalized learning module before. And this gives a personalized experience, right? This is accommodating in the fullest degree because it's a personalized tutor, right? So it can gain, it can work with real-time data of knowledge or issues that Ethan's having academically and respond to those by upping the difficulty or taking it down without any loss of patience, without a need for focusing on other students and so on. Biofeedback-based learning pods, right? So now we're talking about the environment itself, the classroom environment, where we have something like learning pods. They have sensors, monitor physiological and emotional states. Now, this may not be, again, feasible for your classroom. However, it does indicate some things that can be done. Having a like relaxation or like meditation corner, having a space that is comfortable with soft lighting, perhaps like a white noise machine or something like this, that students can focus on to pull them out of their overstimulated state and work on something. And then gamified social skills training, again, through AR. Gamification is the rage anyway, so it can be used. Sensory pathways, haptic feedback floors, right? Now we're talking about something that is likely highly unfeasible or infeasible. And however, it does show us what is available. Emotionally adaptive AI chatbots, right? They can interact through text or speech to help them process emotions, right? And if this is someone like a personal therapist in a way. Now, ethically, we have to worry about that a tiny bit because we need guardrails on these chatbots, right? And that's where something like exploring GPTs or creating your own custom GPT, right? You can do it yourself and say, customize a ChatGPT, give it custom instructions to know about you to provide better responses. How would you like it to respond? That's one of the most simple ways to help a person like Ethan. Secondarily, we can go to, we can get a ChatGPT Plus, upgrade it, and then do our customization and share that and publish that. Interactive digital whiteboards, mindfulness-based AI companions, somewhat similar to the emotionally adaptive chatbots, right? Help him with mindfulness practices, engage him in these things. Dynamic seating with emotional feedback sensors, right? To detect body postures, emotional states. You could do, there are other behavioral analysis things as well, like cameras, facial recognition, body positioning recognition through machine learning in case a student has an issue with self-harm. That can ring a bell so a teacher knows what's going on quickly into the issue. So now, some of these are not immediately feasible, but it does give you a sense of what AI is able to do with the current scenario when creating accommodations and modifications. Now, are we good creating accommodations and modifications from a bank of established A's and M's? Of course, right? This is, we have the tools we have available. However, using AI to upgrade our A&M knowledge even allows us to think outside the box itself. So let's take this just one step further and say, are there any low-tech ways to create these type of accommodations? Yeah, too many C's there. And modifications in a real classroom. So going back to what I said, it doesn't, emotion check-in systems, emotion cards, thermometers, emotional regulation spaces, right? These tech ways, these high-tech ways are steps up from some established things. However, they do indicate some outside the box thinking. So physical movement breaks, we know these, some of these go back to what we've already been told, but mindfulness kits, breathing tools, right? Flexible seating options, behavioral cue cards. A number of these we didn't get in our initial A&M list, right? You may not have used some of these before, right? So this is a way to use technology to get way out there and really high tech, and then to be reasonable and see what is actually plausible to run in your classroom. Secondarily, we can look at how to use these A's and M's to plan a lesson as well. So, okay, great. I'd like to create a lesson plan on, let's say, 2-digit by 2-digit multiplication. I think that's about the right grade level. That uses these accommodations and modifications. And there we go. So it says fourth, fifth grade. I think he was third grade, if I remember correctly. But what I wanted you to see here is that it is focused. It still has engaging. So it's combining our lesson planning with our IEP goals and our accommodations and modifications in real time, immediately, so that as a teacher, you can plan this lesson for your class, and you'll already have Ethan's or whoever you have in your classroom. You'll have their accommodations and modifications taken into consideration in the planning process. So instead of differentiating for 3 levels and then trying to fit in accommodations and modifications from each IEP, you could load these AI systems with different IEP goals and different accommodations and modifications for the students while you're lesson planning, and have it mesh it all together. So I hope that helps. You can see calm down corners, emotion check-in system, peer buddy system, like they're all in there. Emotion check-ins, hook engagement, objective overview, right? They do the modeling, standard algorithm, independent practice, adaptations. We use his task binder, breaks down each problem, flexible seating available. So it keeps a reminder of what Ethan's needs are. So I hope that helps you guys. If not, I don't know, but it was useful for me in planning. I think it'll be useful for you. Hope you have a great day. Peace.